episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to journey into the heartfelt feelings of a young lady whose father's trauma with post-traumatic stress disorder, war, and trying to raise a family, immigration, discrimination, and trying to hold a family together. And she's going to tell us her story on what it's like. Welcome to the show, Rebecca Lazzaro. Welcome to the show, Rebecca.
Hi, Andre the Beast. It's an honor to be here today with you.
And
thank you for having me.
Thank you. You know, when we first started, you said, Andre, my story can go on for more than 30 minutes.
That's for sure.
And I said, you know what? I listened to your story, and every single second and minute of it was indeed worth more than 30 minutes. But since we have 30 minutes and a little bit over, we're going to get into the details of the story, the ones that impacted you the most that still you're dealing with today and how you're trying to overcome that. So without any more delay, let's give the viewers a little bit of who Rebecca is before we get into your story.
Okay. I was born in Chicago, Illinois. I was brought up in a neighborhood called Bridgeport. At the time, it was predominantly Italian. I'm Italian. My family's Italian. But this neighborhood was, we kind of didn't fit in. Everybody there had nice cars, big houses, nice homes, name brand things. I didn't. My mom, she made all our clothes. She made my Halloween costumes, which I thought was really cool until I went to school.
Right. Whole different ball game. Yeah. Whole different ball game when you're going to school and not wearing the Air Jordans, the Nikes, and the Louis Vuittons and all that kind of stuff.
No. I had none of that. I didn't have anything that was name brand. There wasn't even a label on my clothes. It was just my mom's stuff, so I thought it was cool until I started school, and I thought it was great until I got made fun of, and I'm like, what's wrong? This is great. My mom, because my mom, she can sew really good. My Halloween costumes were pretty awesome, but not to the kids that got the ones from the store, the Halloween stores with the plastic faces, which could, at the time I thought my mom's costumes, and now today I know her costumes were better, but they had the store Wonder Womans or the store Supermans, and I'm coming in as a Statue of Liberty. My mom made that. It was a great costume.
Yeah.
And I won at the school thing, but everybody was making fun of me. Oh, you're poor. You can't even afford costumes. You can't afford clothes. You got hand-me-downs. I was picked on. I was bullied for that. And for men, just for being poor, and not having what they had. At the time, it was like Coca-Cola shirts, Pops watches. I'm going back, I didn't have any of that, I had my sister's hand-me-down stuff. And, occasionally, like one of my siblings, because they were, my oldest sister's like 14 years older than me, she'd get me a My Little Pony, or my other sister got me a Coca-Cola shirt one day. And I thought, oh my God, I get to wear this to school. And then when I go to school, and it's actually a real Coca-Cola shirt. Not that that was that expensive, but I got made fun of and said, oh, that's probably fake. She probably got it from the thrift store or something like that. If it's not real, So I was picked on. I was bullied. I had a girl that bullied me all the way through grammar school, and my sister made me face her one day. But growing up, my dad, he was alcoholic. He was in the war. He fought in the Korean War. He enlisted himself when he was 17. And obviously I wasn't born at the time, but my dad, he was drinking. He had post-traumatic stress disorder. And a lot of times, there would be a lot of fights between him and my mom. My mom didn't like the drinking naturally. And he would be late for dinner a lot. My mom was cook dinner every day. She also worked. She was a waitress. She would cook dinner and want him home for dinner. And hours later, he'd show up drunk. And then that's when the fights would start. And, both Italian parents, both very vocal, yelling, screaming. And,
your dad was an immigrant. So his fathers and his family came over.
No, my dad wasn't an immigrant. My mom's dad was.
And they came over here on the boat with little to nothing in their pocket, trying to fit into the new America.
Yeah, my grandpa, my no-no, he was spit on. He was, he was actually a servant for some people, and he was called like, names and stuff, and he was spit on just like a lot of other immigrants that came over from, different countries, Irish, Ireland, Italy. My grandpa came from Italy. So he was,
Your dad goes to war and
right.
fights, serves this country. He comes home with post-traumatic stress disorder. Violence happens. You witness all these different tribulations going on in the household. Was any of these violent acts of war? Because you said he often, when he acted out remembrance of being in the war, grabbing his gun and so forth. Was any of this stuff taken out? Why was it always taken out on your mom? Did he take it out on you and your brothers or sisters?
No, he never hit us, but I think because my mom, she would continue to fight with him. She'd be in his face, about what she was mad about. But he'd be off throwing things in another room and having one of his blackouts. And instead of avoiding it, she'd go in there and she'd be in his face, and and he'd be already having a blackout and throwing things and tearing up things in the house. Instead of leaving it alone, she, stubborn Italian woman, is in there, and then he'd be throwing stuff around, put his hands on my mom a couple times, and I was 5 years old. It happened as I was growing. He stopped drinking when I was 5, but there was so many times that we would have to get some new things for the house. He'd be breaking windows, throwing the very one time, the last incident, he threw like the china cabinet through the window. And I remember my sister taking me next door because my aunt lived right next door. She took me next door to get me out of there, to get us out of there. My brother was home. My brother was a big kid at the time, and it was the first time I think he stood up to my dad, because my dad had gotten his rifle out at the time, the M1 Garand from the war. And my mom, she was kind of hiding, and he thought she was out, and he didn't want my mom out at all. So he was banging the rifle on the floor. And I remember that sound. And when that happened, that's when my sisters took me next door, and he was saying, I'm going to kill her. I'm going to kill her when she comes home. And my brother kind of stood up and said, no, you're not. I don't remember exactly what happened after that, because I was taken to my aunt's house, but I remember watching out the picture window because I heard the police sirens coming. And like I said, I was 5 years old at the time, and I was watching out the window, and I seen the police in front of my house because it was right next door, and I seen them taking my dad in handcuffs. And I was 5, and even though I knew the violent person that I seen being taken away, I didn't want my dad to be I thought I was never going to see him again, because I knew there was a man that I seen on his good days, on the days he wasn't drinking, on the days he didn't have his blackouts or flashbacks. I knew that was my daddy. I was a daddy's girl. He made me a little Wonder Woman costume himself, and so I didn't want my dad to go to jail. I didn't know what jail I didn't understand the concept of jail at that time. So I just thought I was never going to see him again. He was being taken away. That was it. There goes my dad. Rebecca, so
I can see that this is still traumatizing, to say the least, because you remember these things so vividly. And I'm sorry, but I appreciate you coming on the show and opening up and sharing this journey that you had to go through, and you're still going through with it. But my question to you as we move forward with this, as you got older, does your dad remember any of these things? You said that you remember when he was sober, and did your dad even remember what he had did after the fact? And
you know what? After he put himself in AA, the day he put himself in AA, he never turned around again. He never touched a drink again. When my dad passed, he had like 35 years, I want to say, sober. Right. He helped other men, other vets, and not just only vets, become sober. We had many strange men coming to the house that my dad was trying to get through the program and help them become sober, because he knew that if he could do it, so could they. So he made a lot of, so the man that I seen when I was little, the change that I seen happen was spectacular. He turned his whole life around. And, I have kids, I have 3 boys now. which he helped me raise. I had my first son when I was 17. I got married. We had 2 boys together, and their dad wasn't around a lot. He was a Chicago policeman. He did not. And then when we got divorced, he didn't come around. I don't want to say anything bad about him, but he wasn't there a lot. We were both young. He was 21. I was 17. I turned 18 2 weeks later after I had my first son. We had a second son together, but my dad, he helped me raise my boys. And when I, talk about the man that I knew when I was younger and I tell them these stories, they can't believe that my dad was even that person, because to them, that is their idol. That's their hero. I mean, he is mine now today because he changed his whole life around. But when I mention that, they still, to this day, we talk about it and they can't believe. They're like, not my papa. That's not, he taught us how to be men. He showed us how to do this or that. And he taught us how to respect women, how to respect ourselves. So when I talk to this, it's like unreal to them. They don't, but it was very real to me.
Rebecca, has your dad confronted you about his actions? I see the fact that he made the amends. My hat's off to him and stuff, and he recognized, but does he recognize, or has he ever acknowledged the hurt that was put up on you, your brother, and your mom to this day? Because this is a trauma that's still affecting you to some degree, because if you shared it with your kids and your kids look at your father in a total different light, has your father even talked to you about what his actions and what his part in the war has caused you emotionally?
Well, I'd like to say first, both my parents have passed. I lost my mom when I was 28. My dad passed in 2017. So to your answer to that, I don't remember him directly talking about it. And he never talked about the war either. Mm-hmm. But we found some of his medals. He had a lot of accommodation medals. He was a staff sergeant, and he was not proud of the war at all. I got his patch on my arm. He never wanted to talk about it, but I read some stuff about him in a book that was in Washington, D.C. that my dad never even shared with us.
Right.
But he had a lot of accommodation medals, but talking to him, you would have never known that he was in a war because he didn't speak of it, because I think that brought up a time that he didn't want to remember, and then a bad time after the war coming home and what he did to us, or to my mom, and what we watched, because like I said, he never touched us, never put his hands on us.
So what happened to you after the passing of your mom and dad, and moving forward? You're no longer in Chicago. You're now in a whole different city. What led you to the new city and how did you begin to heal from all of this?
I before I even started to heal, I was in grammar school. I was bullied and picked on, and my mom made all our clothes and stuff like that. The kids at school did not think that was cool. So even after all that trauma, I had all kind of trauma all through grammar school. I had the kids picking on me because I didn't have the nice things like they did, the nice shoes, the name brand clothes. I had none of that. I had homemade clothes or hand-me-downs. We didn't have nice cars, we didn't have a nice house, but everybody in the neighborhood did. So I was picked on because I wore homemade clothes. I got called poor, even though I thought the clothes were great. Right. But so I was bullied. My sister made me face my bully finally in 8th grade. And then I kind of, she never messed with me again. I kind of handled that situation. So kind of gave me a sense of, okay, I'm strong, I can get through this. And then I started working at about 15, had a couple jobs. Then I finally landed a career where I was at for like 19 years, I want to say. But during that time, I kind of had a mental breakdown. I don't know if it was from stuff that I repressed from my childhood, from the trauma with my dad, or the bullying all my life that I went through from 8th grade that I didn't tell anybody about in my family, like my siblings or my parents. They had no idea until my sister made me go face her. So when I was about 2013 through 2017, I had a mental breakdown. I was in and out of the hospital, away from my kids long, One time I was a 90-day stay in treatment. And, but what led me to that stay is, I had been trying so many different medications and therapy, and nothing was working for me. We're talking 3 years of debilitating anxiety and depression that just it was relentless. It wouldn't stop. I mean, nothing was working for me. I thought I was a hopeless case.
I'm gonna ask you a question real quick. I didn't mean to cut you off. Ask you a question. You got into a stress center, rehab type center. Did you admit yourself in there, or you had the breakdown? Was that the point that did you seek that kind of treatment for yourself? Because you say you shared this with nobody, and you broke.
Well, I finally, my ex-husband, my second husband, seen these changes in me happening, not eating. I lost like 40 pounds. So I didn't see it happening to myself, but I knew something was wrong. I didn't know that I was going through anxiety because I never felt anxiety before. I just thought I was going crazy, and I was afraid to share it with people because there's a stigma still to this day surrounding mental health. Right. So that's something you want to share, even with people that you're close with, because if they haven't went through it, they have no idea about it. They just assume you're crazy, but it's real. It's out there today. And a lot of people are still ashamed to come forward and speak about it, but I'm not. That's why I'm here today. So I can hopefully help others, So, one of the times, yes, I did admit myself, but the very last time, because like I said, it was in and out of hospitals 3 years. The very last time, I think I was so bad off and so not in the right frame of mind. I was driving home from work, and I don't remember the particulars of the situation, but all I remember is my ex-husband reiterated the story back to me. I guess I got out of my car and I was on a bridge. And I called him after I got off the bridge because this is what he told me. And I guess I told him like I just had gotten back from a grocery trip. As I was driving home, I says, do you believe this? I got out on this bridge and I was going to jump, and I'm sorry, it makes me a little emotional. And the only reason that I didn't jump is because there was a possibility that I could have lived. And then I would have been depressed and anxious and a burden on everybody that I love. And I can't even believe that I even had a thought of doing that, of ending my own life, because I know how hard it is for me still that my mom died when I was 28. I would have been leaving my 3 boys without me, my youngest especially, he was like 10, without me. So I can't even believe that I was even in that frame of mind. And then he called my son. And when I walked in the door, my son kind of tackled me and took my keys until my ex-husband got home. And that's when he took me to the hospital. And that was the 90-day stay. And I had some treatments in there.
You said when you went in for the treatment that for some reason the treatments didn't work. So how did you heal yourself? How did you heal yourself? How did you take the accountability after leaving, that recognizing that all this medication that they was pumping in you was really doing you a disservice versus helping you? It might have been a temporary fix and so forth, but how did you really take control of that situation? Say, I'm not going to let it beat me. I can do this. You come out the center, you come up with a whole new plan and developmental for you to conquer this. How did you do that?
Well, I was at my, wit's end, and I took myself one day to church. I mean, I've always been a woman of faith. I was raised Catholically, and I took myself. The doors are always open in the church that I grew up in, the neighborhood I grew up in. And there's a church called St. Mary's of Perpetual Help. Those doors are always open. And I took myself in that church, and I got on my knees in front of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And I started praying, and I didn't pray. I didn't ask him to make me better, because I thought there was no hope at this point. No medicines were working, no nothing. But what I asked him is, please don't let me lose the sight of my faith in you, because this is all I have left. I need to keep praying. I need you to guide me, so I don't end up doing something to myself that I can't take back or bring myself back from. And I was there for a couple hours, and I don't know, I just felt some some presents. And then after that, I decided to go have these ECT treatments. And I felt like they started to work and help me out a bit. But that's when I got, after the church, I feel like after that renewance of my faith, that that's when I got some strength. Like, okay, I gotta fight. I got 3 reasons, and in my family, people who love me, I gotta fight. I gotta be here. I can't leave my kids by themselves. So, I was pretty much at rock bottom. I had already tried that in my life, and I just fought and I fought, and I had these treatments done, and I kept fighting and kept pushing because I knew the woman I was before this. I knew she was in there somewhere. I had to dig deep to find her, and I just kept fighting and fighting. And after, I want to say 2017 is where there was a turning point where I, found myself again, and I was strong. And that little bit of strength that I had gave me the strength to go further, to fight more. I'm like, okay, that person that I knew, she's there. She's right there. I kind of got a grip on her. I can't let her go. So I continued just to fight. And, I was working out, and I started working out again because I'd worked out pretty much for 20 years, but I had that down point for 3 years where I wasn't doing any kind of physical fitness.
Rebecca,
So then
Rebecca was this is trauma at, I don't even know if there's different degrees of trauma, but this is definitely something of a high level. Did it affect anybody else in your family?
Well, of course, at the time I was married, it affected my husband and it affected my children because I'd be gone for periods of times where sometimes when you're in for a little while, you can't have any visitors. Yeah, I couldn't see my kids. I couldn't talk. And then one of the places I was in was called Timberline Knolls. It was like a couple hours away, and it was supposed to be one of the best treatment centers. But to be honest with you, it was more like a prison, and it was making people worse. A lot of us were faking that we were not feeling well to go to the emergency room because they determined when you got let out. So that place was terrible. I mean, there was a lot of other hospital experiences where I could tell that they were trying to help and they cared, but that place in particular was horrible. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody because I feel it made our situation worse.
So before we get ready to wrap up the show, you seem to be doing better right now by exercising and stuff. So tell me, what else are you doing now? You got into the exercise stuff. How much of this is therapy for you now that you're exercising and so forth?
Oh God, the gym is my therapy because recently I found out that I have coronary disease.
Okay.
Like recently
what is that for the viewers? I'm sorry, Rebecca.
I have some blockage in the major artery of my heart, which is genetic. And even though I train 6 days a week, all before I started my lifting career in 2020. So all before that was cardio. So that's supposed to be good for the heart, but it's my own genetic pool that I'm dealing with right now. So I'm on like 5 different medications. I got to take blood pressure medication. I got emergency nitroglycerins in my gym bag and my purse. So I have some blockage, and eventually in the future, if the medicine is controlling the peripheral side effects right now, but in the future I may need heart surgery. My mom passed at like 63 with heart disease and diabetes. It's all over my family. So even what I'm doing, not that it's not making a difference, because it is, I could be worse off. So now I have this because I thought, here I am again. I'm on a new chapter. I'm starting over. Now I have this going on in my life. And I'm waiting on results for my white blood cell count is it's critically low, and the doctor's thinking I have some autoimmune disease. So with all that being said, it's like, okay, another brick thrown at me, but I'm going to fight no matter what it is, because that's all I know. All I know is picking myself up from the ground. I mean, everything from my life, from being young, from grammar school, everything has been a fight. And this fight is not going to be any different. I'm not going to let it. I'm not going to change the way I'm living. I'm going to keep going to the gym. I think I lift the weights at the gym, but the weights, they lift me. That's my form of therapy. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do anything. I live a clean, healthy lifestyle. And every time I go in the gym and push a weight up, I feel better. Those demons get shut out. those repressed memories, they get shut down. I can spend 5 hours in the gym. I don't know if that's healthy or an obsession,
Hey, I'm
but
not giving no advice on that part.
you know all about that. So the gym is my therapy. Some people go to the bar, they drink, and I'm not saying, I got friends who do that, but that's not for me. That when I do that, the anger comes out. A different person comes out. So the gym, that's where I get release all my demons and deal with my traumas and everything that I still have to face going forward. The fight that I might have to still, when I find out these results, I don't know what they could be, what kind. There's all kind of different autoimmune diseases.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but I know I lost 30 pounds in the last 3 months unintentionally. And for a bodybuilder, that's not what we want.
Right.
I'm not in lean out season. I was kind of trying to bulk up a little bit, but so I know something's going on, and whatever it is, I'm going to fight it. I don't, it's not going to take away this heart. I'm going to give it everything I got.
You have your children of your own. Before we wrap up, you have children of your own. They see your struggles. They see you at your lowest. What do you talk to your children about now? With all that you've gone through, what you're going through, you're definitely a fighter. My hat's off to you. Mental illness, post-traumatic stress disorder, war, all this stuff. It affects everybody. It affected your father. It affected you. It's really crazy. My heart goes out to you. You have your own family now.
I had a son.
What do you tell them now? What do you tell them now to keep them strong?
Well, they watched me go through it. So I tell them, because I had a son recently who was dealing with some depression and anxiety. And from watching me and me being on top of them about their mental health and not getting in toxic situations, he saw treatment out right away.
Okay.
And because it's genetic too. My mom had anxiety, so it could be handed down. So, and like I said, their dad wasn't around. So he's got his own situation. So I think seeing me pull myself out, and as a matter of fact, he said that to me, watch, if you can pull yourself from what you pulled yourself through, I know I can get through this. And then he has me, of course, to help him through, and he's doing well now. But my kids, they see me fight. They know I'm a fighter. So anytime I see them getting down on themselves or losing sight of what's important or losing sight of themselves, I'm on it. I don't care that they're adults. My oldest is 30. My middle guy's 27. My youngest is 20. I'm on them about being healthy, about fitness, go to the gym. Not that they listen to everything, because it takes a lot to get yourself and go to the gym every day especially when you're feeling bad.
Rebecca,
but
leave the viewers with a positive note before we end today's episode.
Okay, well, I am in the one positive thing is I'm in this contest for Fab Over 40 and new beauty magazine, and I feel like it's about talking the same thing about adversities and why are you Fab Over 40? Why do I deserve to win this? I have a shot at winning 40K. And the first thing I'm going to do, if I do win, because there's a lot of beautiful women in this contest, a lot of women with stories, but if I do win, the first thing I'm doing is donating 4,000 to NAMI, and it's the national, it's awareness for mental illness. I'm taking 4K, and that's the first thing I'm doing before I pay any of my medical bills that are piling up. I'm going to send that to NAMI because, a lot of people are suffering, and I want people to know that they're not alone. And people care. I care. And I'm here to help people. Like you see this video, you want to find my name, you want to talk. I want to talk to you. I want to help you. You're not alone. I will talk to you. I will take time and I will talk to you because I've been through it. I've been there. I know how scary it is, and I know how hard it is to pull yourself out of that rabbit hole and how easy it is to go back down that rabbit hole. So if any viewers watching today, you'll see my name. I got TikTok. I got Facebook. Hit me up. I'll be happy to help you. I'll be happy to talk to you.
What's your name? What's your social media profile so the viewers can reach out to you if they want to?
Okay, my Facebook is Rebecca Lazzaro. I don't know if that'll be attached to your to the thing here. And my TikTok is R Laz, Lazz, so double Z, fitness 31. That's my TikTok handle.
Leave the viewers with something positive before we leave.
Okay, guys, that no matter what it is that you're going through or that you're feeling today, you can fight it. I don't care how bad it might seem. You're rock bottom. I've been there. Look at today. I don't have the best of things, but you can fight. You can get yourself through anything. You just got to fight. You got to pick yourself up and know that there's another day. There's tomorrow. It's not always going to be grim. There is light at the end of that tunnel. I promise you that. I mean, I was ready to end my life, and here I am today telling you that you can fight. There's fight. You have to have faith. You have to believe. You got to believe in yourself. There's a person that was in there before the person that you're feeling that you are today. That little girl or that teenager that you know that you were before those hard times came. Remember that person. Dig that person out. And fight for that person, fight for that little girl, fight for that little boy that you were, that person that you know that's in there. Because if I can fight and I can pick myself up 3 times, anybody can.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Rebecca Lazzaro from the Andre The Beast Crayton